Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Victoria, where we are currently fighting Britain, and we would rather not be fighting Britain, to be honest, but we will likely get some territory out over here. Also, the state of my middle mouse button is currently moderate. It's, working most of the time. I have a new mouse on order, but we may have to resort to WASDA. So for now, let's tick on forward. We're seeing a lot of convoys being sunk, and that is reducing our supplies out over here. That is not necessarily great, but we do see that the Ottoman fleet is currently holding this area. So I think that we're going to be relatively okay on that front. Now, there's 75 units in this army, including 5 irregulars. I don't know where these irregulars came from, but I'm getting rid of them. They don't actually help us all that much, and we can do that. So that'll be absolutely fine. Now, the British are going to establish a front over here soon. They are winning this encounter as of right now, and that's okay. Establishing a front is kind of good for us, because that means this army can finally fight. So let's let them do that. Eventually. There we go. Okay. So, gold was just discovered in Alaska. That's noted. And I want these guys to head on over to this front. There we go. So we're going to head on over there, and we definitely do want to check in Alaska. No gold mines? Okay, that is noted. So that's fine for now. Gold was discovered here, though. We're going to take the additional gold fields throughput for the moment. That will be fine for now. So, at this point, the war goal of Persia, or rather the war support of Persia, cannot be reduced below 0. There are currently no British people at the Kerman Kars front. We're on our way over there, and we can see that there's also a fair amount of Persians on their way over here. There's also some Ottomans on the way. This is all reasonably expected. So we're going to start pushing. Where are you going? They arrived at the front, and then our unit just immediately decided to turn around and go all the way around to this side. Okay. Very awkward. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to a spot where they shouldn't be. And it appears that they weren't, so that seems fine. Now, we can see Britain is really shifting a lot of forces over here. We'll see if they get there in time. Have they pulled forces from this front? They have. So we're going to start advancing on this front again. Beautiful. They've pulled a lot of forces out of here. They're trying to pile the forces in over here before they get kicked out, but they got kicked out. So they don't have anything left over here, and now these forces are just kind of in limbo. They have to turn around and go back. Britain is at 0 war support now. They cannot be reduced below 0 because of war reparations. But we'll see how this ends up going. So we're trying to do some pushing over here. These are both being led by Ottoman forces, and we're not too concerned about losing those. But for the moment, we definitely do want to continue to push through over here. This just started up. We are winning this advance. Nationalism has been unlocked. Okay, that is noted. The Ottoman Empire just capitulated, and we now claim Tomsk. Okay. So, currently, we'll see what ends up happening with Persia. If Persia exits this war with a white piece... Oh, this front is vulnerable again? Where did our army go? They're at the Baltic HQ? Okay. Get down here. This is all back now. And our army went all the way back up here. I don't like that. We're on our way down. The Ottoman Empire's capitulation does mean awkwardness ensues. But we are on our way back to the Persian front. And hopefully, well, we're broadly similar to them. I don't know where the Persian army is, though. Where did the Persian army go? The Ottomans left. But the Persians should still be around. In theory, anyway. So, we're pushing in over here in both of these areas. There's one of these attacks that's not having a leader. Okay, that's noted. So we definitely need to make our way down to this front. However, if Persia exits this war, Britain's at minus 15 reasons. Okay. Let's make it to the front. And we arrive at the front now. So we're currently at minus 22 here, and they are fighting us. I want to switch us over to a defensive footing for the time being. They have all of these forces being shifted over. So Persia's probably going to capitulate fairly soon, right? Which of course means that they're going to take Kerman and Sistan, which is not ideal for us under any circumstances, but we could shift additional forces over ourselves. Oh, they landed an invasion up here at some point? I guess we have to mobilize these guys over. Okay. I'm not sure when this happened, but it definitely did. So we're going to send some forces over here. Okay. So we've arrived here now. Perfect. And they are losing that. We have no commander here. So we definitely want to recruit somebody. We'll recruit this guy, and we'll have to promote him. And then we'll have to promote him again. There we go. So now we'll have sufficient organization. So these battles are occurring here. And the British are broadly going to be winning on this front for the time being. They are broadly losing on this front. And I think this is reasonably fine for the moment. We can continue trying to press in over here. This is where the Persian force showed up. They abandoned their homeland. Okay, that's kind of wild. But whatever. So we're winning here, and we are, I think, losing this offensive action. But we are winning the defensive action. Okay. For now, that's reasonably fine. Eventually, the British will want to exit this war. Well, specifically, eventually, we're going to see the Persians be interested in capitulation. For right now, we're just trying to defend this front as best we can. And it's not going to go super great. We're trying to push the British out of this front, which we should be able to do relatively swiftly. I'm going to mobilize this force. This is going to be expensive, and we're going to send them down to this front. So we're going to get all of our armies sent down there. Now, to be clear, the British are going to get their gains on Persia because Persia was dumb and sent their forces over to Yukon. I don't know why they did this. They should not have done this. There's not a lot we can do about that, of course, other than Britain is proposing a peace deal. This is interesting. They're giving us the Yukon territory in exchange for getting Kerman and Sistan. I think exiting this war at this time is a good thing. The only thing that we stand to gain from continuing fighting here is keeping them out of Persia. But we still get Yukon territory. I think that this is as good as we're going to get, likely. All of these forces are coming around and are going to land here. We are definitely financially still in some trouble. So I think that this is the best deal we're going to get. We accept this peace deal. So it is unfortunate that we give up Sistan and Kerman here. We can maybe fight Britain for that later. We can definitely fight Britain for that later. So that'll be fine. We do manage to get Yukon territory up here, which is absolutely great. We'll start incorporating that. And infrastructure here is low. That is noted. We're going to need to probably... That railway is subsidized. Okay. Let's just do that. Cool. So that'll be fine for right now. And we do have some isolated areas. Alaska and Yukon territory. Those should no longer be isolated after our convoys are fixed. That'll take a little bit of time. So that's cool. We can attack Persia if we wanted to. They still have that defensive pact with the Ottomans, so I don't think we're going to do that immediately. But we're not happy with Britain taking this chunk of territory, but at least we got a chunk out of Canada. We got the Yukon territory, so that is okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And that all comes down to Persia abandoning their homeland. That's what that comes down to. I don't know what they were thinking with that one, but it wasn't great. We have an unacceptable government? Okay, let's see here. What would we need? Just the gentry? Okay. I'm not super happy about that, but whatever. We have low loyalism and fairly high radicalism in quite a lot of areas, so we should probably do something about that. Landed voting would be, I think, helpful. We could work our way towards that. So let's get that going. The gentry are not going to necessarily be the happiest about it, but it's reasonably fine. Okay, so I want to go through and check our government administration situation here. Let's see here. We definitely do need another infrastructure in Moscow. Let's get that going. And then in our government administration situation, we're going to, each of these is going to be giving 15 taxation capacity. Okay. So I just want to make sure that all of these are still necessary. We're going to need one in Transbaikal. I'm going to put these at the bottom of the list. We're going to need one in Galich. We're going to need one in Tver. We're going to need 2 in Samara. 1 additional in Moscow. In Uzbekia, we're currently at +6, and that would be, let's see here, 90? So yeah, that's correct. We're going to need 6 in Afghanistan. We're going to need 9 in Western Afghanistan. And then this would be 135. So then, let's see here, 150. This would be 165. We'll get an additional one in Saratov. So that means that Kazan needs to be at 13. That's 165. So then this would be 180. And then this would be 195. So we would need to be here. Okay. That's reasonably fine. We'll queue up a few extra. Those are being at the bottom of the list for right now. Okay, now, checking in on our market prices. Nothing's too bad except for coffee. I don't think we have access to any coffee plantations. Correct, we do not. So, for the time being, nothing's too bad as far as pricing goes. So that's okay. We're not too concerned about it. We'll just continue to work on our transportation shortages. And Eastern and Western Afghanistan. Right. There is already railway in both of those. So checking in on those railways. We'll bump that up to wooden passenger carriages. And then this one over here, we'll also bump up to wooden passenger carriages. And we'll see if that deals with our transportation shortage in Afghanistan. If it doesn't, then we will need to expand our railway there. We are going to need to expand our railway almost certainly in Saratov. Let's take a quick look at that. Yes. So I'm going to expand that as a top priority. In Kuban, let's take a look here. This is going to need an expansion as well. In Turkmenia. This needs to be further employed, so I'm not necessarily too concerned about that one. In Ural, this needs to be boosted up for sure. And then, of course, Eastern and Western Afghanistan. We'll come back to those. So that all looks fine for now. We've got some railways to work on. We are working on modern nursing at this time. That sounds good. So that is now done. We now have field hospitals as a mobilization option. But we don't have first aid? Okay. Interesting. It said that we had that unlocked, but we actually don't. Where's our first aid? Is that a military thing? That's modern nursing there. It must be in here somewhere. Is it in society? Pharmaceuticals. It would be somewhere over here. Oh, do we need a law? Or do we need an institution? Hang on. Let's find out. What do we actually need for this? The 5th Russian Army does not have first aid. It's a mobilization option. Oh, we have to turn off first aid in order to turn on field hospitals. That's weird. I would expect to be able to toggle between these without turning one off with this notification every time. Okay. That's very awkward. So we'll just do that. And we can activate rail transport for each of these as well. There we go. That'll do for the time being. Now, what do we want to get for our next research? Well, definitely something that will help us defeat Britain in our next war with them. Perhaps like trench works. That's going to take 7 years to research, but that might be okay. Let's get going on that. I want to check in on how we're doing on our research right now. We have an innovation cap of 119.9, and we're currently generating 119.9 uncapped. So that's a good sign, but when that grows a little bit, we're going to want to have another university. So let's build one in eastern Afghanistan. There's 5 in western Afghanistan. Wow, okay. So let's just get that constructed for now, and we'll call that good. Cool. We are working on paying down this debt. That looks reasonably solid, and we have a fair amount of constructions that we want to be working on, of course. And it should bear in mind that a big part of the reason why we don't have much loyalists right now is because we've been under just crushing taxation for quite a long time. And so our standard of living has been pretty flat. It's not ideal, for sure. And the Gentry Assembly are going to be very upset in 9 months. We need to keep that in mind, too. So we're probably not actually going to be able to pass landed voting, are we? Unless this passes very quickly. There is a political movement to preserve autocracy. And if that movement succeeds, it would make 1.38 million individuals more loyal. So that's interesting. No doubt about that. That's less than would be made loyal by the landed voting. But, boom. Let's do it. So we're going to retain autocracy. That'll make a bunch of people more loyal, in theory. But what I really want to do here is I want to find a good law change. I don't feel like that was a good law change, but I want to find a good one. We're on mercantilism right now. We can go down to free trade, and that's pretty free. In fact, the Gentry are endorsing that change, plus 20. So that's actually fantastic. So we're going to boost up the Gentry's opinion enormously with that. And they're going to drop their opinion from this government petition, but the free trade should offset that. I think that's really, really solid. Let's do it. That sounds absolutely great. How much are we actually making from tariffs? 6K. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm really not too concerned about that one. Okay, so we do see our innovation cap has gone up a little bit, and we're not at our innovation cap. That is, of course, why we're building this university. It will take another 15 weeks to get done, but that is fine. We're going to get these railways completed soon enough as well. Transportation shortage out over here. This is already subsidized. There's just not enough workforce here, is there? Correct. There's just not enough workforce. We have struggling standard of living out here, and it's just not necessarily going to be great. And that's not shocking. How are we doing on our infamy right now? 14.8? Cool. So that's reasonably fine for the moment. Do we want to declare a war on someone like Persia? Well, not necessarily with their Ottoman defensive pact. What about Belarus? Poland and Belarus have an alliance, and they have a defensive pact with Lithuania and Ukraine. We could definitely make something happen there. Lithuania being a protectorate of the French is somewhat problematic for us. How strong are the French right now? 10,684? Okay, they're a little stronger than we are, but not tremendously. So that is definitely noted. Free trade should just cruise right through. We get an advance here. Okay. We'll take the 15% enactment success chance. That'll be fine. So our debt is currently at 13.5 million. We're making solid progress there. I'm not too concerned about paying off the debt. We need to get some of these other problems finished, but just being positive is good. We could potentially consider dropping a tax. Not really a tax level, unfortunately, but we could consider dropping a consumption tax. Or we could add a consumption tax. This is probably a terrible idea. Actually, a consumption tax on opium isn't so bad. And then also on glass. And that'll boost up our income and allow us to pay this off a little faster. What we're really interested in here is harvesting this 20K that we're paying in interest. And that will be absolutely great. Now, we are going to finish up some of these railways quite quickly here. And that looks good. So we're working on additional government administrations. The price of paper might become a problem at that point. But we do need to get a lot of these finished. Now, vacuum canning just finished. So that's good for our food industries. Let's see what we've got going on for that. Okay, so that's going to spike the price of oil. We can definitely work with that. Spiking the price of oil is not necessarily a bad thing. We can always create a couple of additional whaling stations, and we'll get those going. Whaling is not the most efficient way to get oil, but it is a way to get oil. And knowledge of pump jacks is now spreading to us, so that sounds good. So how is the price of oil doing? If we go into our market, we can see this is coffee here. This is fine art. Okay, that is noted. But then if we go down to oil, the current price of oil is minus 17%. So this is not so bad. Although that will be, I think, coming up. Actually, no. Looks like our whaling stations are absorbing the need. That sounds good. We got another advance here. The Gentry Assembly can get +1 opinion. Or we can get a 10% enactment success chance. We're going to have 5 weeks until the Gentry Assembly are very sad. So we'll take that +1 opinion. That'll be okay for now. This transportation shortage continues to remain. There's honestly not a lot that we can do about that. There's just not enough employees here, is all there is to it. We would have to conquer the rest of this state, which would be this from the Ottomans. So that does give us a reason to fight the Ottomans and Persia. Out of curiosity, 9.8 infamy. And then we could just take, like, whatever we wanted from Persia. Yeah, that would be 20 infamy. Like, we can assume about 20 infamy per state. It's actually a little less, but somewhere around there. So that's all relatively fine. Of course, we're not okay with Britain existing down here. That is very much not a thing that we want. We're going to wait for an option to fight Britain, though. They're allied with Prussia. And how strong is Prussia? Reasonably. So we want to find an opportunity to fight Britain. We don't have that opportunity right now. We could theoretically also attack the Sikh Empire. So that is definitely an interesting option. An interesting option indeed. I wonder if Britain would get involved in that. I think it's reasonably likely that they would. Great Britain is unable to support Russia, obviously, as is the Ottoman Empire. Now, if we were to do this, how many states do they have? They have the 3 states. So, out of curiosity, how much would we hypothetically be able to get? So, they've got this one, 12.5 infamy. And then we don't have return state here. So, conquer state would be... Oh, we don't have an interest in the Himalayas. But that would be 20, and that would be 20. So, this would be, overall, a full annexation would be 52.5 infamy. That's a lot of infamy. No doubt about that. But what about Kalat? That's an interesting option, potentially. They're very weak. They're very weak indeed. We could simply make them our protectorate. Or we could conquer the state. Is there anything in this state that we would want? Well, there might be some hidden, like, oil or something. I don't know what the hidden resources would be. Currently, the actual resources there aren't that major. But we could certainly make them a protectorate, and if we're interested, annex them later. So we can do a forced diplomatic play here. And then we can just send the National Guard down over here. Honestly, I don't think we need anything other than the National Guard. So we'll send them on down, and we'll see how this ends up going. Currently, Persia would join us, so that's kind of funny. But I don't think anyone else here is going to get involved. It's a relatively small war. I don't think Britain will be happy about this, but I don't think they're going to get involved with it. It is, however, time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll see if we need to send anyone other than our National Guard over here, but I suspect our National Guard on their own can take this. Collapse back to down. Okay, never mind. They are just our protectorate now. Beautiful. So that is great. Absolutely phenomenal. Well, that went well. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to pass free trade and continue to work through our input goods shortages of transportation, although there's not a lot of those remaining. We're definitely working through that one. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kentogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.